First of all, I want to thank you for your support, for coming here and being a part of the project. Secondly, one more time, welcome to Bosnia. Well, you are part of the really very exciting journey. And journey consists of many small pictures, small puzzles, which are going to give us really a big picture. 17 years back, I discovered the Bosnian pyramids and then the first entrance to the Ravne tunnels. In the meantime, we have confirmed 6 pyramidal structures above the ground and 6 entrances to the Ravne tunnels. Now, you are part of the research of Ravne 3 tunnels. This piece of land we purchased 4 years back. At that time we bought it because we wanted to have a land adjacent to our park Ravne 2. While we were clearing the area and the border of our property is just a few meters away, we were making a little road here, and then we noticed these big pieces of rocks. This is like conglomerate concrete. So at that time we could see 5 pieces sticking out. The first one was there, the second one was here. So only a little piece of about 1.5 meters was sticking out. The rest of it we could not see. Number 3, number 4, number 5. So we called it C1 to C5. Now we checked the height. This is 476 meters above the sea level. Interestingly enough, the entrance to the Ravne tunnels is at the same level, 476. So we concluded that below these blocks, like in the Ravne tunnels, we might discover the tunnels. So we started clearing the land here first. And after a couple of weeks, we discovered the entrance. We discovered this big rock, which was sitting on support plates. If it is sitting on support plate, it means somebody placed it there. The reason why, they wanted to make an obstruction of somebody entering the tunnels. We could notice the tunnels are way back, but we said because of this stone, because it was obviously the example of anthropogenic activity, we're going to keep it like it is, and we're going to go to the next conglomerate block, which became the entrance to the Ravne 3 tunnels. So we had a crew here, we had several crews. This is one crew, this is another one, and with the time, after a few weeks, we discovered the entrance. It was very narrow, so we get to crawl, and then after 5-6 meters there was an open section. That open section was 65 meters long. We were very happy, and that's actually the sections where you are working right now. First 65 meters straight, and the following year, 2019, we started doing the proper archaeological work. 2019 was the time when we discovered most of our artifacts, more than 3,300. Majority of little ceramic pieces from different time periods, vases, some of the metal pieces also. We realized that people were getting inside, using this space temporarily or permanently in different cultural periods. We have recent Middle Age, we have older Middle Age period, we have most probably Byzantine times, we have ancient Roman times, about 2,000 years, a little bit less, and we have Neolithic times, 4, 5, maybe 6,000 years old. It tells us that people were getting inside during different time periods, which is important. It means that the tunnels were built thousands and thousands of years back. Sometimes they are telling, Osmanagich and Foundation, they are digging the tunnels themselves. But this was very important. If you find thousands of artifacts, it means people were using it throughout the times. So some of the artifacts you can see in the conference room, I believe Amna, our archaeologist, has shown you that. So this is just a little selection out of 3,300 pieces. The fact that it is at 476 meters height, it tells us something else. That both sides, left and right, were at one time part of the same underground tunnel network. What we have in between, we have this valley, and this valley is at the north-south direction. This is perfect north. 12,000 years back, we had a huge global catastrophe. In some documents, like holy books, it is mentioned as biblical flood. Geologically speaking, we know that at that time we had huge volcanic eruptions, earthquakes, and it was the end of the Ice Age, meaning huge quantities of ice located to the north. Austria, Germany, Poland, Scandinavia, France, UK. No those countries, no soil, just ice, up to 3,000 meters. Now imagine when huge quantities of ice melted, then we had huge quantities of water. Big tsunamis, they were coming down south, in our direction. So these huge water tsunamis with a huge power were destroying everything on its way. So they destroyed part of the tunnel network. And that's the reason why we have some of the tunnels on that side, some on this side, but they are at the same height. We were extremely happy when we started discovering first drywalls. If you discover drywalls here, so far we have how many? 5 of them or 6 of them, and we have dozens and dozens of drywalls in the Ravne tunnels, and in the meantime, Ravne 4 tunnels, we discovered several drywalls there. It means it's the same civilization who closed the tunnels, who filled them up, who built those drywalls. Now, drywalls, they are structures, rather rude, but still a structure. Somebody put those stones together. Those drywalls are rather compact. It's actually not so easy to make a replica of drywalls. In this particular case, it's important that we got the date, the minimum age of drywalls. I believe they explained you, but let me explain you again. So, this here is the first drywall that we discovered. Now it is protected. If you remember, we put those wooden boards so you can go above those drywalls without damaging it. So we have a drywall which is a proof that somebody was building it. So it's, the intelligent hands. Above this drywall, there was this huge stone plate. It was a big stone plate. It looked like this stone plate above the drywall. And then on the top of the drywall, we discovered stalagmites. Even today, we have some of those stalagmites. This is how they look like. The way they got formed is you got the water dropping from the ceiling. Stalactites, they form stalagmites. Stalagmites start to grow. It takes time for the surface to get prepared for stalagmites, because in the beginning the water simply flows left and right. But after a certain period of time, due to the existence of pieces of soil and dust and some others, you got the surface ready for stalagmites to grow. Good thing about the stalagmites is that you can determine the age of stalagmites. So what we did, we removed one of the stalagmites. We sent it to the Institute for Geology of the Czech Academy of Sciences in Prague. It took about 3 months until we got the results. And the results were amazing. The result? 19,000 years plus minus 1,000 years. They applied uranium, thorium analysis. It's very precise dating. What does this mean that the stalagmite is 19,000 years old? It gives us a minimum age of the stalagmite because it took some time, probably a few thousand years, for the surface to get ready, to be prepared. So it's probably more than 20,000 years. And it was sitting on top of this block, which covers drywall, which means drywall was first to be built, and then ceiling collapsed, block came on top of it, and then the stalagmite started forming. So if the stalagmite is 20,000 plus, it means that the drywall is much older than 20,000 years. Officially, the history of Bosnia, of cultural communities, is only from the Neolithic times, 6, 7, 8,000 years. 15 years back, there was a research by German Archaeological Society from Heidelberg and Kiel, and they came to the nearby location called Okolište. They came with the age of the society there of about 7,500 to 8,000 years. They didn't go any further. They said lack of funds. Probably there is also traces of much older community. 8,000. In Bosnia there is a culture called the Butmir culture near Sarajevo, 5,000-6,000. There are some others like Obra. Obra is near Kakanj. Kakanj is just 15-20 kilometers from here, also 4,000-5,000. There are remnants of Hvar culture. It's in southern parts of Bosnia and Herzegovina, 4,000-5,000. There are remnants of Vinča civilization. Now Vinča was located at the place where two major rivers, Sava and Danube, meet. It's today's Belgrade. That one goes 9,500 years in the past. And there are some others, from Slavonia and so on. But so all these cultures belong to the period which archaeologists called Neolithic times. Neolithic meaning new lithic times, or period where people were using only the stone tools. But we don't have nothing from Mesolithic or Paleolithic times. Only one example in Bosnia. They call it little cave, even though it is not a cave, it is just rocks that cover another rock, and it's called Badanj. It's in southern parts of Bosnia, and there is a drawing on this stone. They are saying 12 to 14,000 years. So that this is the first remnant of intelligent work in Bosnia. 13,000-14,000 years. And this is a stone structure older than 20,000 years. So we have the opportunity to work in the space that was used by intelligent hands, by people most probably, more than 20,000 years. What is the oldest structure in Europe? Officially, nothing older than the Neolithic times, because official history, official archaeology is saying everything was happening in the Neolithic times, nothing in Paleolithic, except one thing: cave paintings in Spain and southern France, from Altamira to Lascaux, from 12,000 to 35,000 years. But as far as the organized communities, they don't give us much about it, because they are saying it was all the era of the primitive caveman. Well, primitive cavemen don't build structures. They don't build stone walls. Primitive cavemen, they don't build very extensive underground tunnel network. And this is what we have here. It looks at the first moment as rudimentary, as rather raw, as rather not sophisticated, but it's very important. You have here, right now we have about 140 meters of open tunnels, and over there 2.6 kilometers, and Ravne 4 about 65 meters, and Ravne 5 about 140 meters. So far we have cleared about 3 kilometers. And most probably original network is maybe 100 kilometers. So it's a huge underground tunnel network. With such a proof, we are saying, hey, this is extremely old, and this is so far officially confirmed the oldest structure on the European soil, more than 20,000 years. Some of the artifacts are telling us about those cultures that are rather recent, and we know something about them. So, like this one, a billhook, which was used, either to cut the grass or to cut certain plants, or even you can use it as a tool to defend yourself and stuff like that. Tegula, Anna likes to talk about it. It was used during the ancient Roman times. And this is the signature of the manufacturing facility. It's like today. You have different brands, they put their signature, they put their logo. Somebody nearby was making tegula to cover the roofs during the ancient Roman times in the area of Bosnia. Or some others that are telling us, hey, people are getting those parts, getting those elements, getting them inside the tunnels, using them for different purposes. What they use this for, we don't know. Maybe they use it as a shelf. Maybe they use it as a pillow. Maybe, we don't know. So, we can just think about those past times. And I want to show you this also. The first 35 meters of the open sections of the tunnels, we are finding a lot of stalagmites, a lot of them. Some of them we also cut and we use another dating method. It's radiocarbon dating. So deeper you go, it's better probability that the stalagmite is older. So this is an example how we cut one of the stalagmites close to the base. So we cut it, and this is how it looked like after we removed it. So what we have here remaining, it's the base. And as I said, it took time, thousands of years, for the base to get ready, to be prepared, to keep the water. It took thousands of years for the first layers to form, and then it took, of course, very long time for the rest of it to form. So what we have here is just part of the time period. So we sent those samples for the radiocarbon dating to Kiev, and the age was 26,200 years, plus minus 250 years. What does that mean? It is the minimum age of the existence of the cavity, because for the stalagmites to form, you need to have the cavity, you need to have the empty space, you need to have possibility that water is dropping from the ceiling to the base. So it means that the cavity is not 26,200, but most probably about 30,000 years. What does that mean? It means we go back to the time when the pyramid and Ravne tunnels were open, were made. So officially we use 29,200 years as the time when the Bosnian Pyramid of the Sun was built. So almost 30,000 years. And that's the same time when the original builders of the tunnel were digging the tunnels, removing the material. Which material? Conglomerate. And conglomerate is pebbles, rocks, and sand. What did they do with hundreds of thousands of tons of that material? They built concrete blocks on the Sun Pyramid. So they had the raw material for the concrete block. All they needed was a binder, and they used melted clay as a binder. Where did they find huge quantities of clay? Everywhere. Every Bosnian hill is filled with the clay. They melted. What is the technology? We don't know. How did they reach very high temperature to melt it? We don't know. Today we don't melt clay. For us, it doesn't make sense. For them, it did make a lot of sense, because clay is better binder than cement today. So they had binding material, they had raw material, pebbles, rock, sand. They made those concrete blocks on the Sun Pyramid. But it also tells us the date when the tunnels were made, 30,000 years back. What does this mean, 26,000 years, plus few thousand years here? We go back to 30,000 years. It means that the cavity here, or the tunnels here, were part of that tunnel network. They were part of this complex. Pyramids above the ground, tunnels below the ground. So you see how those dating perfectly fit everything that we do here. So far we have done 28 dating analyses, most of them radiocarbon, some of them uranium thorium, and they are taking us back to 30,000 years ago. What was happening then? What they teach them in schools is nothing. Again, era of the primitive caveman. But obviously there were some episodes on this planet. They go deep in the Paleolithic times. For example, Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey, which is not 11,600, it's between 15 and 18,000, like Dr. Klaus Schmidt told me. It takes us to Yonaguni monuments on the bottom of the Pacific floor, near the coast of Japan. Today on the bottom of the Pacific, meaning during the Ice Age, when the water level was lower, they were on the surface, meaning older than 12,000 years. Machu Picchu older than 12,000, Teotihuacan, Mexico first phase older than 12,000, Giza pyramids older than 12,000. So obviously in the Paleolithic times we had some areas, some episodes built by advanced societies. The same goes for the Bosnian pyramids, built long time ago. So this place really changes the history. You know, when you have in any science, it can be archaeology or history, it can be any other cultural area or music, or when you have something that is anomaly, people usually disregard it. But if you have anomalies all around the planet, the places I mentioned are just few of them. The pyramids in Indonesia, Gunung Padang, 28,500, and some others. When you have so many anomalies, there is a need to change the history books. It's not easy in the beginning, because everybody is attacking you. You know, scientists want to keep the status quo because it changes everything, the way they teach them, the way they teach other kids, the way they did their PhDs, the way they did their books. But science is there to bring us a new information. If you need to change everything, we will change everything. The world of archaeology is different with our appearance. Instead of archaeological project that lasts 15 days, 10 diggers, 1 archaeologist, we have changed that. 12 months, every day of the year, with hundreds of people, different scientific disciplines, not only archaeology, or not only classical sciences, geology, biology, paleontology, but also high tech, also energy aspects, also medical aspects. So we are realizing that those energy complexes were there as energy amplifiers. So you have beneficial energies in the tunnels, on the pyramid, communication, water molecular structure improvement, our health improvement. So now we are realizing so many things. But then also archaeology is not always every day filled with excitement. First year was very exciting when we are discovering, you know, thousands of artifacts. Last year was exciting when we are discovering some very specific artifacts. This year we work, and then we're going to discover something else. Maybe you won't see some big discoveries, but you are part of very important process. And that's the reason why I always say thank you, because you are helping us lay the groundwork for the future volunteers and future work. So thank you very much.